I think we're all just living through a time of history where people are talking openly. I think that it's very timely for some people, but I think it's too late for others. I think that what's happening is that it's time we open up and we start talking about the things that people don't want to talk about. And I think it's time we start opening up about everything that's going on right now. And we start making videos and we start talking about everything which has happened to us. If you're a writer, if you can write books about it. Corruption is something that goes hand in hand everywhere you go. Even as a firefighter, I witnessed people being arrested. I didn't see them commit the crimes, but I saw people being arrested for embezzling money from charities, people that had donated money to the volunteer fire department, and these volunteer fire officers we then witnessed getting caught in the act. Later found out they were embezzling money. Presidents get impeached because they do something wrong. And police officers get arrested for beating up innocent people. But this is because those are organizations with accountability. And the one lady that is out making videos right now, this young lady, she's a victim of Project Mkultra, as I am. She said something about the video I disagree with. She said that we're maybe the 1% of the population of victims out. We're the 1%. I disagree with that. I think that there's probably a greater number than that. I think we're dealing with a per capita population of Americans of 360 million American people. You could be looking at a round figure of about, well, maybe that is a 1%, maybe she's right, but I mean, no accountability with a federal agency that is extremely large and has an unlimited resource of money means very simply that they have many people working for them. And I can't sit here and generalize and say they're all bad. There are good and bad in everything. As I'm making the point here, there's good and bad in everything. The bad about Central Intelligence and the victims like myself of this agency, and my mother, who was a victim too, Annette, the actress Annette Funicello, which Wikipedia and biographies and even her interviews, she's only going to be saying she had 3 kids. That's because she was under duress. It wasn't about protecting a public image. It was protecting lives and interests of the family. And she was being threatened. And, like I said, if you doubt that, you have to be a bit of a detective and watch this sort of thing. Mark Sarafik's a good FBI profiler. And if you watch her reaction to Sally, the Sally Jesse show in the 1995, Sally, she was being interviewed, they were honoring her life. The question was put to, Annette was talking about her kids, and she quickly says, I have a daughter named Gina, and she's this old, and then she runs right through the boys. Well, I have a boy, he's this old, and a boy who's this old, but she doesn't mention names. She won't say Jack, she won't say Jason. And she kind of puts her head down like that. She does this in another interview with John Tesh. And she does the same thing. He's talking about kids, and then there's Lisa Gibbons. And how is this affecting you with the you have having MS. What's home life like for the kids? How are the kids reacting? Well, how are you getting on with them? The kids are, she dodges these questions on kids each time. This is after we had met in 1990 and 92, and everything I'm telling you about what we shared together. And it was love. I don't think there was good or bad times between us. I think we were distracted and interrupted by Central Intelligence's involvement and their need to cover this up. And Central Intelligence was running into the situation in the end. And I remember the last day before they gave me retrograde amnesia from a device they called a brain taser. Even Ben Franklin knew, who flew the kites, that electric currents in the skull can cause amnesia. And there's 3 kinds of amnesia. There's chemical, electrical, and physical. I've been researching this. Physical amnesia was like a baseball bat hits your head. You're going to have brain damage. You most likely won't get the memories back at all. A brick hits your head. This often happens with people who work in construction. Chemical amnesia can be from you drink too much and the next day you wake up and don't have any memory of the night before. That can also be drug-induced, and there's different chemicals that can cause amnesia. But if you don't physically damage the brain, it goes into what's called the subconscious. And a guy showed me a diagram. This would be a representation of your mind. This is your consciousness, and this would be your subconscious. Okay, so retrograde amnesia is where some blow to the head drives conscious knowledge of something from here down into here. The memories aren't gone. They never left. Hypnosis in the 1990s could have brought this back very easily, but I would have been going to the newspapers trying to reach her. She was alive then. I promise you. Don't have doubt of that. I would have been making every attempt to reach back to her at this point in my life and say, hey, ooh, what did they just do to me? I didn't sign any contracts with the CIA, and I don't have to abide by their regulations and rules. I can reach you, okay? But there's no guarantee that she would have reached back because of the fact that they had so much manipulation over the family. When they make a mistake in the CIA, they don't admit that mistake and go fix it. I got told by an agent that they put it in a file 13, and there's thousands of kiddos in that file 13 where they've made mistakes and they go to cover it up. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. While I'm probably a little bit different than a whistleblower, I'm what you'd probably call a mistake they made, and they're covering that up. The young girl who does these videos and talks about Mkultra and others like herself are probably more targeted victims than me, and are probably going to be you're going to be getting a great deal more information about programs they've been involved with than I'm going to be able to give you. And I don't know it all, and I don't want to know it all, because they're going to be dealing with these people straight up, and they're being told to. They've been targeted, they've been brought in, they've been drafted. The word is drafted, and they want their freedom, and I want mine, and I don't want to be playing this lying game anymore. And understand, of course, that what I'm bringing you is not all solely based on memory recall of an amnesia. No. If you've been thinking that, I apologize for misleading you at this point. That's not what's happening. I'm a responsible person, and everything I'm bringing you with memory recall and evidence. But I'm not sharing that evidence with you. And there are a lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of reasons. It's pretty complicated. It's a very complicated thing. It's not easy as you might think. And as one might think. And even I'm finding myself guilty of the same problem, the same thing. That I'm always one for disclosure, but even I'm finding myself becoming guilty of this same thing of covering something up, or having to go, oh, let's not put that out there, and then I think about the wider picture, what would happen if I say this or say that, and I'm like, well, that's right. So I'm going to be revealing it in a book. I'm going to be revealing it in a book, yes. Gonna make the book. It's never about I'm unsure of myself. I'm not falling victim to plausible deniability. When every video I've made and everyone I've ever spoke to privately, I'm only doing this with the full confidence because I have the evidence to back it up. I never will be approaching you or writing you letters or talking to you if I don't have that hard evidence already. Believe me, I'm a responsible person. I know full well that if I was relying on memory recall alone, oh my God, that's just totally irresponsible to do something like that. Very irresponsible. So there is evidence in my camp. There is evidence. And I'm not trying to convince you of this, but I would never make these videos or ever say anything on Facebook or approach people if I didn't have that evidence. Because I'm a former security officer, as I said in one video. I guarded a building worth $500 million. Or no, it's 500 million pounds. And I was left there alone to guard it all by myself, and I have a spotless record. And Group 4 in this country holds contracts with companies, this insurance company, as well as guarded the Pentagon. In America, they've got contracts in America. Group 4 security was even contracted by the CIA to guard their own building. They contracted not CIA in-house security officers, but they had Group 4 with, that's classified. Whether or not they still got those contracts with the CIA, I don't know, but I know that. And so I've got a pretty good, credible record, and I would never act on my memory recall alone and then go and say these things in videos. No. Wrong. That would only, because if you get it wrong and you're saying you're barking up the wrong tree with somebody, you're going to get your head bit off. You're going to get problems. But I'm always approaching anybody or making these videos based on evidence that I do have, not just my memories. And it's pretty solid, it's pretty solid. But you got to handle this sort of thing delicately. You can't just run out there and say this. I'll say this, the evidence I have would be strong enough to take to a court in North America, to a judge. And if I said to that judge, I want the last name Gilardi or Funicello, the judge would grant it to me pretty quickly. She would look at the evidence, probably come back within about 30 minutes, and come back and say, I'll make you Thomas Michael Gilardi, or Jason Funicello. I'm not entitled to any estate, and I'm not chasing that. I had someone say, are you looking for money? No. The law, and not that I ever was, but the law is clear. To gain estate or inheritance, several criteria have to be met. You have to have meant something to that person in their lifetime. And I was pulled away from my mother again in 1992. I'd like to think that I meant something to her in 1992, in that time we had. But is it enough time with her to say that really means anything? To gain any estate? I'm going to say legally the judge would say no. You're not entitled to anything. Because although you and her shared a lot of love together, I would imagine the judge would be wanting me to be in her house and sit with her and help her out and help the family out, be a part of this life in a more of a meaningful way, more than a few months on the phone and meeting in the car in 1990. And that's discouraging. While her last wishes are being met and pretty much everything that she ever owned is being auctioned off to be used for money for MS research, it's a safe bet that the CIA set her up to contact me in 1999 in England to get her to fall out with me. We didn't really fall out. I didn't take it as a fallout, but I think that's what they were pushing her to do. And and then so they have the non-disclosure agreements with the family, and now we've got the mom who's going to tell the kids, don't talk to him. Who am I to show up and say, oh, by the way, I'm your brother, and, here's my word over her word. They've gone to a lot of trouble to keep the secret and have overlooked too many leaks of solid evidence and information, which is what I've got a hold of. And so they were spending too much time looking that way, and they didn't look over that way, and this is how I've walked off with pretty heavy stuff. So you sit back and think, well, yeah, and so what? You write your book, you put it out there, people may buy it because her name is on the cover, it's an unauthorized biography, and you're going to say this stuff. None of it will damage her image and career. In fact, it's going to protect her. You'll see when you read the book, if I put the book public. Now, why would I say that? Am I not sure of myself? No, I'm quite sure of myself. What I'm not sure of, the uncertainty principles are, of course, what happens, the reaction from that big ugly monster down in Virginia. The CIA look at this, and oh boy, he's got this. And this book is going to be 300 or 400 pages thick, and it's got heavy details. I don't think anybody's going to doubt this anymore. YouTube videos, Facebook posts, or whatever, Jason. But you get a big, thick, chunky book sitting in your face with what I'm going to put in that thing. That's going to be difficult for people to put that down after reading that through and go, wait a second, he's making it. I can't say he's making it up anymore. It's too compelling. In fact, I'm thinking at this point that would be the kind of book you want to put before a judge just to get your name changed. Give her a copy. Here, you can have this. It's a copy. And at this point, what would I get out of it? Well, based on what I've researched in our last contact and why we were in contact in 1999, and now they're saying that she went blind in the mid-2000s, like 04, 05, 06, so she couldn't have been on Facebook in 2011, somebody said, and I said that's nonsense, because she was. Just look at Glenn Holt's video of the Canadian interview. Even he admits it there that she was on Facebook briefly. Yeah, that was her on the like page, wasn't it, Glenn? Yes, it was. So, that's 2011. So now we've got some disinformation running around, that apparently she lost her eyesight around the mid-2000s. And by the way, those little pieces of information start going out to the public in blogs, and they look like news feeds and things like that. They've been dated to 5 or 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, but they weren't there before. These entries weren't there before. And I had another look at the thread, and I found these are recent entries. So this is disinformation. They're now trying to say that she didn't even have any eyesight by 2011, so how could I be saying she was there by 2011? Clever. So now you know what we're up against. Okay? But they've dropped themselves in the crap, because there Glenn is saying that in the, November 2012 Canadian interview. 2012. He is saying in 2012 she was on Facebook briefly. Watch the Canadian interview. and he's saying that she was on Facebook, and he is referring to 2011. He even says this, a few years, he even says this. This is right there. And the only time Facebook's been around, well, mid-2000s, as these people claim she lost her eyesight, would go before 2009. So so somebody's seen my posts, they're watching my videos, and I'm catching you. I'm catching you. There you go. And how can I prove that she had any eyesight at all after the mid-2000s? Glenn Holt's own interview. And there you are making these videos saying, you know, you guys are putting those posts out there saying that she didn't have any eyesight by the mid-2000s. That's disinformation, and that's the CIA. Kids, people, that's the CIA. You still think I'm making this up? Go have a look at these posts. Google up Annette Funicello's eyesight. That's all you got to put in the search engine, and you'll see it says mid-2000s. Now, go to YouTube and look at Glenn Holt's interview. He's the only one talking. She can't talk anymore. And there it is. And he says this. Now, you start thinking, is Glenn lying? So these people that put that out there know more than the husband does? I'm only going to send you back to the source and say, look for yourselves, folks. Come on. Look what's going on here. Okay, wake up. Project Mkultra is very real. It's very serious. It's out there. The CIA do punish people. They have under... there's a lot of stuff I'm not revealing to you about Annette, which I probably never will reveal. And I don't think... Let me just say that, like with firefighters, you get good, bad. You get good, bad in the CIA. And they do punish people under I'll say, okay, what I've said before, I'm standing with that. She signed a non-disclosure with them. They said they would deal with finding me and help her and Jack in finding me, and in fact they violated that. And what happened was, that's my story, I'm sticking to that. And they took advantage of her within the non-disclosure agreement. I'm sticking to that. There's reasons about this that I think for the best interest, and I'm guilty of it now. I'm guilty of not revealing all about Annette's life, about what I know about her, my mother's life. But just know that I love her dearly and I hold nothing against her. And but there is a need to have accountability in the agency to clean things up. You can't go around raping and sexually molesting people just because it suits your fancy. This is your punishment system for people that use your agency to find a lost kid. This is insane. That's pretty sick. So I mean, it go, yeah. That is my video. Stuff to ponder with, but again, like I said, go look at the Canadian interview, and they think they're being clever, don't they? They really don't have people looking before they leap. They tend to use a lot of feeling and aggression and emotions to govern their thinking and actions, which are often preemptive. As I said in one video, they have brilliant agents running around who are... one of the biggest weaknesses of the agency is that it's all men. Men run the agency. Women are the subordinates. There are no women running the CIA. It's always the men. It's a man outfit. And they have these brilliant-minded women with degrees in psychology who know, let's do this, let's do that. But often the men that tell them what to do, the biggest weakness is that it's got men that haven't got that education. They've got predatory instincts and attitudes, and they've been in and out of the mafia, and chauvinist, sexist, women are objects, you know, they're just toys. It's the Stepford Wives, if you ever know that show is from the 70s. Idiots. So they tell them to shut up or slap them or go, or, you know, we're going to beat you up and assault you because you didn't. They are the ones running the show. So they're pretty easy to outsmart and outwit because they're you know, mindless, numb-headed, you know, slow, really slow. Like I said, I see these really dilapidated attempts at covering this up. And I step back and think, well, okay, guys, but you should have maybe, did you consider the interview in 2012? No? Or you could have at least tried to take that off YouTube. Since you run the family's lives, and you own them, you could have at least taken that off the public domain there. Oh, well, never mind. Yeah, yes. You bloggers and so-called news people who know more about it than the husband does. Right. Okay. Right. Thank you for watching.